What's going on, my people? You're listening to The Score, an urban music education podcast hosted by Eric and Justin, where we discuss tips and strategies on how to become a more effective, compassionate, and culturally responsive music educator. What's going on, my people? This is Eric.
And this is Justin.
And we're your hosts for
The Score.
Welcome to episode 111. Dr. A. Jan Taylor, Mentorship in the 21st Century, Guiding Music Educators in a Digital World. Go ahead, Justin. Just
yeah, okay.
Ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm glad you give me the floor. I just need to take a few moments because all of our listeners, this show is really about me and Eric. So y'all just sit back, drink your Starbucks, take your little break before your kids come in. But we have the world-renowned Dr. Taylor. And when I say that, I don't mean that in jest. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Y'all have heard our stories on plenty of different episodes of what she has been to us, not only just as an educator, but we talk about here as a person in relationship. And so she is very much responsible of being my village when I was on the yard. She was Eric's village. And so, we just got, man, listen, like I told her before we started recording, I told my mama that Dr. Taylor is on the score. So, we'll have to talk next week sometime. We'll catch up next week. So, Dr. Taylor, from the bottom of my heart, and I know Eric feels the same, we love you, and we are so glad that you're on the platform tonight. We really,
oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I am honored. I am so proud of y'all. I tell you all the time. I'm so proud of all of your accomplishments and all that you have done and that you contribute to music education. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's preface this. We would not be who we are. We would not be on this podcast if it wasn't for the Dr. Taylor in so many ways. And I got to share this with Dr. Taylor. I actually got a message from a colleague, former guest of ours, Dr. Andrew Hunter. Shout out to Andrew out there at UTEP. He said he has not forgotten the story, because I've shared this story on numerous times, whether it's my keynote speeches, whether it be on the podcast. Most recently in Beaumont ISD, I talked about you. I put your picture up there. And so people have heard about you, even if you don't know they have. And he said a situation just recently arose where a first-gen college student was having some financial issues. And he said, I found a way to go to the top. We talked to our department, we found funding, and we made sure that student stuck in there. And he's like, I haven't forgotten that story that what Dr. Taylor did for you. So yes, we can give that credit right now, up front. Without any hesitation. But Dr. Taylor, would you mind letting the listeners, we know all about you, but there's some folks that might not, and for whatever reason they might not know, they will now. Would you let them know a little bit about your background and your history in regards to your professional career and maybe what you're doing now as well?
Okay, well, I am recently retired in 2020 from Prairie View A&M University as Director of Choral Activities and Associate Professor of Music, where I taught, my primary job, of course, was, Director of the choral program. I taught the music ed courses and all those, and all the things related to choral music, choral conducting, etc. Before that, I taught in Houston ISD for 13 years as general music teacher, secondary choral director, piano teacher. I graduated from the University of Houston with 2 degrees. One was my first one, bachelor's was in music education. Then my doctorate is from the University of Houston, and my master's is in vocal applied voice from Prairie View A&M University. I started out as a pianist. My mom was my very first piano teacher when I was 5 years old. Awesome. I took piano lessons from that point on all the way through college. I went to the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, where I sang in choirs, and that's where I got the bug or the notion or to become a choral director. There were 2 women choir directors at HSPVA, Jean Galloway, who has passed on, and Pat Bonner. And people listening to this podcast will know that name. She's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She came to the school my second year there, and she only retired a couple of years ago. So I
Mm-hmm.
think she stayed there close to 50 years.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But in any case, I was in the second graduating class from the high school for the performing and visual arts. And
Wow.
so my earliest musical memories were, of course, from my mom. I got a lot of exposure to classical music, I would say, from home because my mom loved classical music. She always wanted to be a pianist or a photographer.
Mm.
I'm the musician, my brother's the photographer. And so she kind of, she put it in us. So I listened to a lot of classical music, mainly opera,
Mhm.
on recordings. I recall West Side Story and Porgy and Bess being played very often in my house.
Wow.
Also, Miles Davis sketches.
Nice.
What is it called? Sketches from Spain. That was my dad's
Mm-hmm.
jam.
Wow.
And in church, Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, by the time I was a teenager, perhaps is when I started playing piano there. I was accompanist for Clyde Owen Jackson. And Clyde is renowned because he was a former student of William Dawson,
Mm.
who was a composer mainly noted for his arrangements of choral concert spirituals. So I got that kind of background. I kind of got a secondhand uh, source, I'll say primary source, secondary source of performance practices of spirituals through Clyde because he had studied with William Dawson at Tuskegee. So
Mm.
those kinds of, or just just a snippet of some of my musical experiences growing up. And,
That's awesome. I think when I hear all of those things, I think it's the premise by which we want to kind of delve into our conversation tonight, which is the idea of mentorship. And I think part of why we want to talk through this is because we live in a digital world. Everything is you sync it to your phone, from your iPad to your laptop and so forth and so on, that we really forget those kind of grassroots of how we develop and how to teach and how to become musicians. And I'm pretty sure no different than this day and time in your developmental years, there was some transition into other world of how we do things. But yet and still that word of mouth and how you can recall those names and those people and what they did for you. I think it's important for band directors, choral directors, orchestra directors that, yes, tap into the digital world because those are the students that you're teaching, but there is a sage of information that's behind us that they may not have all of the technological advances, but I think if we put a barrier there, we're keeping ourselves from actually learning how to do the job that hasn't really changed over the last 30 to 40 years, if I'll be honest.
yeah. Well, I would say I would start off by saying that, of course, human connection and human engagement is just so important. Face to face, in
Mm-hmm.
person, someone who takes you by the proverbial hand
Yeah.
and kind of leads you, guides you, talks you through things.
Mm-hmm.
And then another part of that is it's important for us to see
Yes.
who it is that we want to be or what it is that we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will go back to, I mentioned Clyde Owen Jackson as a mentor and as a person who is really instrumental in my development, not only as a choral conductor, but as a person.
Mm-hmm.
The integrity that you bring to your job and into your work, and the level of expectation of the people from who are learning from you.
Yeah.
And so by that I mean that I learned structure, I learned process, procedure through Clyde, mainly by watching him, not because he told
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because I worked under him and I watched him. And another person was in my elementary school choir, Vivian Harrison. She's still alive and well.
Wow.
Turner Elementary School in HISD. I learned professionalism from her, even
Mm.
as a child in her third grade choir. She insisted on people coming to rehearsal on time. She insisted and expected that the music was to be learned. There was a high level of discipline, uh, personal integrity, all those kinds of things were taught into rehearsal. And it's only now that I have kind of gone through my career that I can really see just how much all of that was instilled into me from those people.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 That's good. And I think, oh, go ahead.
No, that I love what she said about it wasn't necessarily articulated to her.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily said like, here's the checklist of being an effective music educator, right?
Yeah.
And then by the way, here's also, how you become a good person, because she mentioned that, right? And I started thinking about who was that for us? Obviously it was you. Like,
right.
Even I was never in your ensemble, but you modeled that, right? Like you modeled it in different aspects. If we had a meeting, you were there. If you said, Eric, we're going to talk at this time, it was that. And if we weren't for whatever reason, which never happened, you would have communicated that with me. It's those unspoken attributes that you give off that people pick up on. It's like, oh, you're a person of your word. You're going to come through, right? And I think of Charlie Stevens was probably that for me. He's just even student teaching, sitting back, watching him, walking in the morning, and he's already had his new newspaper out on the desk. He got his, his legal notepad off to the right where he's already written down his things. And what did I do? When I got to Hamilton, I had my notepad on my stand and jot down things, because once you get in front of the podium, you forget about the announcements and what you got to say. And he just that modeling of consistency, of ownership, where you could tell it was about a planning process, it was structure, it was discipline, all those things where I still get in trouble for being too punctual, right? Like, let's talk about outside of these fears of like my family's getting together, like, well, Eric's going to be on time, so we might as well go ahead and get there, So I'm glad you shared that, because I'm starting to recognize the parallels that Justin and I got to experience because of that, and I fully agree. We assume because we have an access using digital resources to these people, we forget about that human interaction. And I fully agree that there's something special, and I bring this up all the time, about breaking bread with people. It just seems like the walls come down. So if you can have a cup of coffee or a pastry or a meal with somebody, it just opens people's hearts up a little bit more. And so I am fully with that. Yes, utilize your digital resources to your ability, but there's just something special about being able to still do a face-to-face conversation with people that you admire.
Yeah. I think it's seeing it. I think Dr. Taylor hit on something. She said, these are not things that were written down on a checklist, but these were things that were seen, right? And so I think about just here's something that I still do in the classroom that I did in the classroom. We used to do these things because I was in the university chorale, so I know Dr.
Yeah, Justin
Taylor,
I wasn't.
Listen, I was student musician, all of that, and so being in that ensemble, we used to do these things called octets. So we would be working through a piece, or we would be getting prepared for an upcoming performance, and what she did not tell you was what the octet was over. She would say the octet are happening on these dates. You don't know which date you don't know if your group getting called out, so you had to be prepared. But what it taught me was not that you need to be prepared, but you need to be prepared enough to help everybody else that you're a part of this ensemble with. Because many people came in and was like, I knew my part. And her words were like, your part does not mean anything if everybody else don't know what they're doing. And that stuck with me to the point that as I started teaching my percussion ensembles and my drum lines and bands, we would have these playoffs and tests in preparation for things where I would say, okay, I need the first marimba person to play, and I need my vibe player to play on this piece. And they were like, well, I could play by myself. Yeah, but you're not going to be playing by yourself when we hit this stage for this percussion ensemble concert. And so that was something that I just remember as a freshman and a sophomore in the group that became a part of what made me, I believe, a better educator by making my students responsible for the music that we make. And so when she's talking about this idea of these pivotal people that come across in your life, many times we think of mentorship as, oh, I need to get on your schedule. I need to know what day. Let's grab coffee. That is a part of it. But the other part is being very intuitive to watch and be a part of the teaching that's happening and not just be in the place, but really take note, really think about what's happening in the moment and how you can use that for what you're doing. So that changed my life. And it also helped me when she sent me to over at Johnston. I student taught with
Craig Green.
Craig Green used to keep a notepad or like a note card of making notes whenever I would teach. And he would have a note card of things that he was trying to work through at the end of a rehearsal, so much so that I started doing that. I would have these note cards on my bandstand of like, all right, we need to hit this measure. I need to do this. And I just learned that from Craig Green. That wasn't something he was like, hey, you should try this. I just saw how effective it was. It kept him pace and sequence going into class. And when you teach in middle school, any moment of stopping, you are now talking about what happened in the football game and why do birds sing in the winter. And so it's like, guys, UIL's next week, so I don't really. And so yeah, that's information that did not help me with the QR code to help access databases for music, but it was to help me understand that at the end of the day, once we get past that digital wall, we still have to communicate and we still have to show and teach in a real grassroots way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, especially as ensemble directors, and you mentioned this too, we have to build a community.
Yeah.
Because to expand on what you said about the octet idea, every individual in the group is integral to the whole.
Yeah.
And so what you do or don't do will affect the entire group and everybody around you. So it is so important that we build community, and that is, at whatever level that is, getting to know each other, making sure that everybody has a, buy-in into what it is that we are going to do or what we want to achieve. And so it's important for us to have a community in that way, to build community, the human aspect. It's so important.
You obviously mentioned that you're a Coug at 2 times, right? U of H and University of Houston, in case people don't get the abbreviation. And so even before that, let's talk about HSPVA and your time at U of H. How many students of color were in your programs?
At HSPVA, I would say there were a pretty good number, because one of the main goals of magnet schools at that time was to integrate the schools.
Okay.
So I was not a lone ranger, but I mean, there were few, but there were enough people of color to make you feel like you were a part of the school. So that was highly unusual for that time. I graduated from high school in 1975, and that was on the heels of the civil rights movement. So all of these things that you all are benefiting from now were just kind of beginning to happen when I was in school. So it was a very unique situation in that, yes, at HSPVA, High School for Performing Arts, I was, there were a few more. But when I got to the University of Houston, I was one in my concert chorale, the ensemble. And then maybe later on, another friend, Jackie Chambers, I believe, came on. But I can distinctly remember 2 Black women in that group, and maybe later a couple of Black men.
Wow.
But yeah, at the University of Houston, I definitely was. I felt I won't say segregated, but I definitely was one of very few persons of color there, and I could feel it.
And the reason I asked that is, how did you build community in that space during that time?
Yeah. Fortunately, I did. I'm trying to think of my mentors there. I would say my voice teacher, Jean Preston, she's passed on. She made an attempt within her voice studio to kind of build community there. So there, I got to know some students and feel like I was a part of something.
Yeah.
The chorale, by nature of it being a performing ensemble, I did have a sense of belonging in that situation.
Nice.
And so were it not for Jean Preston, I would say she was the glue. She was the mentor in that situation, the person who gave of herself and made it a point to pull students together, especially those of color. She understood. I can see in retrospect that she saw, what it was that we had to deal with.
See, when I hear that, I'm also just thinking about how sometimes we can also judge books by their covers, right? So we can think that, well, Dr. Taylor has this experience, but as you were pulling back the layers, there's so much wisdom in how you had to navigate not only your own education at a time in America, but then what did that look like for you post bachelor degree and getting back into the very world that was changing. And I think that's an ongoing conversation for our black and brown educators that are going into spaces that may be predominantly, you know, Caucasian. They may be a mixed area, but it's receiving information from people that have walked along these lines that don't project it, because Dr. Taylor doesn't have a need to say, well, I've done all of these things, but it is to say, because I have this level of wisdom and experience, I can speak to what you're doing and how you're going to navigate that. It may not be 1978 or 1980, but some of those degrees of similarities are the same. And I think when we, once again, my mindset is going to say, if I put up a wall because we feel as though there are times and moments that have a sense of expiration, then I think we're cutting ourselves off from information that's going to be vital. Like, there's a reason why we continue to ask those questions from those that have done it earlier and longer, because there's a consistency of what we're seeing and what we're experiencing.
That's exactly why I asked her, because that's still happening today.
Right.
Like, even though the University of Houston now is one of the most diverse schools in the country, and I would probably even consider the world probably, but for sure the country, there are still higher education or educational spaces that reflect that experience. And there are people in those spaces that are trying to find that way of creating the community for those marginalized students, right? Exactly. And you haven't even mentioned, was that private lesson, was your studio professor a person of color?
No, she was not.
Yeah, and see, that's...
And as a matter of fact, at the University of Houston, if you think about it, look at, especially in the Moore School, the faculty still is not very diverse. Yeah. In you know, in the 21st century. Yeah. So there was just one recent professor who was of color who was hired, but you know, you look at that faculty, it's not. I think the student body there is pretty diverse.
Right.
But the faculty is not, which I find very odd in this day and time.
But that's real, though. You know what I mean? And that's something. That's something that, you know. And most people know, I'm now following in my mentor's footsteps and hopefully getting that doctorate in the next couple of years. And I am at the University of Houston, right? And I can and I know my professors who are listeners of this podcast would accept that comment, right? It would be wrong for them to try to say, oh, no, but we're doing better. No, okay, you can acknowledge that, but we're still not there yet, right? Like that, you know, those are the things that we as a community, as people in this profession, have to stop and reflect within ourselves. And we have to own that. Like, okay, hey, our faculty does not reflect the students that we're serving. Let's make a better effort. Now, I'm also going to advocate that you don't do just special hires just to check off the box. Get those qualified people, because they exist. Like, let's not fake the front there. You know, they exist, they're out there, but it's also sometimes you got to go find them. We've talked about this in this podcast. Sometimes we feel we're not worthy to even apply or even be in that position. So it might need a mentor to pull our coattail to say, you better fill that out, you know, like you better go and do that application. And so these are things that I want people to absorb, because I know the impact she had on us and so many others. And one thing I wanted you to talk on real quick is the impact you made on generations of students at Prairie View A&M University, where I know, you know, you've never told me, but I'm just damn sure you got other offers. You got opportunities that you could have gone somewhere else. You could have done other things. One could say of higher stature than an HBCU. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. I want you to speak about your time specifically, about your work at an HBCU and specifically Prairie View A&M University.
Yes, very true. But, and I'll start by saying that I felt that it was my call to be there. I was called to be there at Prairie View. I felt that's exactly where I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I always felt very honored and privileged to be in that position and to be at Prairie View at an HBCU. And I'll tell you, a very highly respected choral director, not of color, said to me once, when are you going to upgrade? Yeah. Let that sink in.
Wow.
And after I picked my face up off the floor, I thought, well, I am exactly where I need to be. And I'm working with the students who I feel that I can give the most, give of myself to.
Yeah.
As you know, as you are shining examples of the caliber of students that came through Prairie View A&M University, the drive, the talent, the gift, the intelligence.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of kids that came through Prairie View. And I felt that I had a wealth of experience coming in. I had already taught almost 15 years before I came to Prairie View in a variety of different types of schools. I had lots of different experiences, and I felt like the students at Prairie View deserved to get what I had, and I wanted to give what I had to the students at Prairie View. Yeah, and I always feel I've always felt that I knew exactly that I was in the right place, and I gave what I had to my students at Prairie View.
Man, that is man, that I think that speaks to me and Eric's testimony in our journey at work.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
seeing you, I mean, anybody that sees you, that's been around you, I've experienced your teaching, your professionalism, your development as just not only just a teacher, but as a musician, as a singer. And in my mind, I'm like, man, Dr. Taylor, like in my mind, who I don't see anybody else on the playing field because she's amazing. And even in that, there was a clear call for the Justins, the Erics, and the host of other students that came through that choir, that came through that office, that came through your classes. And that helped us. That helped us see, like, man, I want to be in this environment in HISD at Hamilton or Heights or when I was at Fort Bend teaching at High Tide. I want to be here. And we both alike have heard the likes of that. Man, you should think about going over here, man. You're really, for a person like you, person of color, you're really talented. You know your stuff.
Right.
And I said, this is why I need to be here because everywhere else is a badge of honor. This is actual groundwork. This is actual purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and our students deserve what we
Yeah.
have to give. They deserve it.
Yeah.
As we take a break from our discussion, we're jumping into the segment called In Rotation. During this time, each of us will get an opportunity to share what we're currently listening to, favorite artists, genre, album, playlists. If you have any recommendations, drop us a line on our social media platforms at podthescore or send us an email, podthescore@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you. In rotation, folks. All right, so I just recently finished a podcast series. It's called My Divo, and it's actually in English and in Spanish on Apple Podcasts. And it's on the story and the life of Juan Gabriel, the singer, composer, artist Juan Gabriel that's originally from Juarez, Chihuahua, where my family's from. So Juan Gabriel's music is a big part of my soundscape. And most recently, about a month ago, we got to go celebrate one of my aunt's retirement. And I can still remember going to my grandma's mobile home. And if my tia was going to go get ready and she was in the shower, we could hear the tape player turn on with Juan Gabriel's music and her singing at the top of her lungs. So I brought that up to her at her retirement breakfast. And I said, Tia, I just drove over here listening to Mi Divo and about that. And so if you get to listen to him, a lot of vocal coaches do those critiques, if you will, of those live performances. And they've had nothing but great things to say. I'm a big fan of his music, of his arrangements and his compositions. That's My Divo on Apple Podcasts. Justin, what you got?
All right, so I have this artist. He's a singer-songwriter. He's done all of the things. He's been an independent artist, but his name is Kenyon Dixon. And so he came out with this album. It was a concept album, 6 songs, and it was called, it's called The R&B You Love, Soul of the 70s. So it's his take on writing his own songs, but it has this 70s R&B feel to it. But the song on the album that's super amazing is Can I Have This Groove? Kenyon Dixon. It's amazing music. So I'm the parent that when my kids get in the car, I'm playing them all the gospel and all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, man, this right here. And they be like, but how old are you? I was like, that don't really matter. This music right here, I might not have been alive during that time, but I felt like I'm born out of time. So Kenyon Dixon, Can I Have This Groove? Amazing song.
Nice. Dr. Taylor, what you got for us?
Okay, I like, there's an organization called Elevate Vocal Arts, and they have a wonderful new recording out by the Elevation Choir conducted by Aaron Harley Emerson. It's choral music. Some of it is by new composers, and it highlights African American composers. So check it out. It's nice.
All right, we're back. So we're in the part of our episode where we don't want to just talk about the beauty of the conversation, but we also want to talk about the application. So Dr. Taylor, with all of your wisdom, what would be your advice? What would be your kind of directives to a young educator that is looking to receive some level of wisdom and direction from those that have done the work in a major way? How does that connection happen, that it doesn't seem odd, that it doesn't seem almost programmatic, but it's authentic for their development and for those that are in retirement or coming to the end of closing out a beautiful chapter of education, that they still know that they have purpose in this arts world?
Okay. Well, definitely. I tell students when I was teaching, I would always tell students to reach out to someone who's doing what you want to do. Mm. Then, you know me, I always made connections, with students, with friends of mine.
Yep.
And so when I meet young people now who are in the field, I tell them exactly the same thing. What is it that you want to do? Who is doing what you want to do? Or even if you're not sure exactly what you want to do at this point, you do need to make connections with people who are in, the field that you are, especially if you want to be a choral director, if you want to be a composer. There are people out there and they are so accessible. They want you to come. They want to mentor to you, and they want to help you show you some things about how to get into whatever area it is that you want. Go to conferences, go to concerts. I am doing right now some of the things that I've always wanted to do, and that is coaching choral directors in high schools. And so, and I tell them, even as I come and work with their choirs and, talk to them about things, get out and meet people, talk to people. I mean, yes, it is one thing to read, and people have reached out to me even on from social media.
Wow. Wow.
And so, there are all kinds of groups, choir directors, Black choir directors, women choir directors, elementary ed, all kinds of groups on social media. And they ask people post questions and they get responses from people who are in the field. So reach out. I wish even when I was younger, although I had people in my life who were guiding me and showing me things, I kind of wish that even earlier in my career, even when I first started at Prairie View, that I had reached out more to people. Because, sometimes you kind of get out there and you bump your head and have to learn things the hard way. But
yep.
Yeah. So it is never too, you can never get too old. As we know, first of all, we're in a profession, in a field where you never learn it all. It's a lifelong learning. And so you still reach out to people. I talked to, just this past weekend, an event where I got to meet someone that I truly admired, UZ Brown, who is a professor of music at Morehouse, well-known composer and singer and musician. And so it was just a pleasure to meet him and talk to him and listen to his process in terms of how his compositional process for the choral music and the vocal music that he has written. Jimmy Abington, who is a musical, an editor of music for GIA publications. Nice. So, there are people out there who are just so willing to share. Yeah. And so reaching out to them, I would say even in some of your organizations at your university, SAI, Phi Mu, Alpha, Dr. Cornelius has at Prairie View, Grammy U, those kinds of groups kind of serve too. You have a mentor as your sponsor,
Yeah, I think that's good. I think you brought up two people, not only a person that's in the field of teaching, composing, but also a person that's in another world of music editing, right? Like, what does it mean to also tap into cross like across cultures, right? Like I learned so much from Dr. Taylor, but the only time I really worked with voices was when I was playing at church. You know, most of my in-class kind of pedagogical approach was working with instrumentalists, but there was so much that I was able to pull from that moment in that time of great teaching and instruction that I'm telling you, if I had not been there, I would have been bumping my head early on. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's getting back to a place where, and my fear is that we can become so logged in this digital space that we discredit people who have information that you cannot find in a Google Doc. You can read about it. You know what I'm saying? You can get all kind of videos, and you can have the subscriptions and be on the YouTube, and that's great. But there's something about being able to say, hey, I would love for you to just come in and hear my band. Can I send you recordings? Can you just send me a document of, hey, I would do this at measure such and such. I would tell the students this. Use this type of tuning process. Those things get missed when everything becomes about, hey, I'll send you a text, or hey, I'll shoot this to you.
Exactly. Yeah. And I just had a conversation also with a young teacher who asked me for resources to help her teach vowels and to her choir, and to help her, learn how to teach tone quality. I'm like, honey, you can't read that in a book. Yes, you can read the technique in a book, but you need to have someone to come in to show you, to demonstrate how to do these things. Yeah. And I think you're right. I found that kind of interesting, that a person would think that those kinds of things can be read in a book. You've got to have people, you have to make connections with people who would, can help you do things. Yeah.
And I'm happy to hear that you're out in schools, and Justin and I are getting the opportunity now more as well to go in clinic more, and a big one that, it's when she says that she goes to conventions, she goes to conventions. She is the reason that we even started having, I was that guy, hey, Dr. Taylor, are we having a reunion? And you're like,
right.
No, but we can meet up at this Mexican restaurant. And we did. And we were shoulder to shoulder in that thing, about a good 8 to 10 of us eating some chips and salsa. And then it led.
Expanded. Yeah.
But exactly. She is the reason that gave me the motivation to not create this joint HBCU reunion that has given a space, a much needed and long overdue space for HBCU alumni and current undergrads to just come together. And the thing that I love about what happens there, you can tell we're not trying to fake the funk. It's like we're really being ourselves. We have brass bands going. We got multi-generational music happening. Dr. Taylor's dancing. There's a video up on my social media of her doing, but I actually want to turn this a little bit. What if I do reach out to somebody? I'm a young teacher. I want to be like that director.
This is good.
And they do not respond, or they tell me I don't have the time. How would you respond to somebody that might get that reaction?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, that I would definitely, take them on my own wings, or I would help them find someone who would. But I would, that would be awful, for a person to experience something like that. But yeah, if you don't get the kind of response that you need from someone, then reach out to someone else. Go to somebody that has contacts or can help you, make connections with people.
And see, I pride myself off of being that person right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because I consider myself young, even though I have 15 years experience now, right? Like I look at those moments of I'm still young in this field, right? Especially for my elders and folks that I respect that are still out there. But it also leaves this it leaves a sour taste in somebody's mouth, right? Like, damn, I really wanted to reach out to this person and I got, left on red, or, or they flat out told me I can't. And what do I do? And I knew that was the answer. I just wanted to make sure that you said it, right? It was one of those like, okay, all right, you got to know, go find somebody else, right? Like, and that's the biggest one, because I get that, hey man, so-and-so didn't respond. man, I got somebody else for you. Like, don't worry about that.
Right.
And because we can feel deflated, especially if we were like real hopeful and, oh man, and I heard about them mentoring my other friend and I got, this kind of response. And that I know might be happening right now. And to each their own. Like, one thing that I am going to always tell people, protect your peace and empower the no. So that way your yeses can be even stronger. And so, and I just literally just posted a post about Julie Giroux explaining that, like, no educator, clinician, anybody should be doing 12 plus hour days anymore. Like, we need to take care of ourselves. And I admitted that I was the guy that used to take a picture of my car, the parking lot, and be like, yeah, I'm the one working the hardest around here. But all the problems were at home, or I wasn't healthy, or everything else was falling apart. And I wanted to make sure that people hear that, because you might get a no, and I don't want that to discourage you, because of people like Dr. Taylor that I still can text to this day, that I finished my keynote at Beaumont and I said, I talked about you, and these directors want to hear from you, and those. We don't lose touch, the same way that I can still go walk back with my colleagues now at Prairie View and go and sit in Dr. Selden's office and go and sit in Dr. Cornelius's office and almost feel like I'm 19 again and learn something new and revitalize that emotion of tell me more. And I can tell you that like 9 times out of 10, my conversations with Dr. Cornelius was never about music, it was about current events and popular music or a show that's going on or something. And it's because of those organic, natural moments. And Justin, I want to make sure that I reiterate this because he brought it up. You can learn from people that you assume that might not be on your schedule. And Dr. Taylor was one that was willing to take me in as an independent conducting student. And I learned so much of my gesture from her. And so when people ask me, like, man, where'd you pick that up? And I'm like, I actually got it from a choir director. Like, they're the ones that taught me this, right? And then I remember trying to do some of that in our band director stuff. Actually, Justin's band director told me this. Hey, Eric, this is a middle school band. You don't need to do all of that. Open the window, close the window. Open the window, close the window. Because
he was going to town. It was.
But I've retained that for now my doctoral stuff and in my region conducting stuff. So that comes out a little bit. But I just, those moments, I know I've felt it before, of reaching out to people and being left on red and then contacting my folks and saying, can you help us connect us? And then be like, sorry, Eric, you might have to go a different avenue. And so I wanted to make sure I brought that question up because I've experienced it in some different ways.
And we all have, and I have too. Yeah. Yeah. So, there are so many people out here who are willing to help. Yeah. And so, don't take no. Yeah.
So can you talk about maybe one of the younger teachers that you're working with right now, and potentially, without naming them because we don't want to put them on blast or anything like that, but what are some of the things that you're seeing in this younger generation of teachers that might need the most support in pedagogically?
Wanting things to happen fast, right away, right now.
I knew it. Yep.
Yeah. And
you like Amazon, like
exactly. Yeah, fast. What do they call it? Fast food choir? Choir right now. Yeah, no, you have to build the blocks. We have to build a foundation, and you have to have a process. Sight reading. They want to record everything and send it out and have the kids go learn it. No, you've got to teach literacy. Teach them. Teach them.
But I think that points back to where we are. If we are not careful, the reality of the outside world will infiltrate a art form that has never been about microwave. It has always been about building blocks. You've done this, now we're going to add. Now we're going to add. Now we're going to add. And if you cut the process at any moment in time, you may have something, but it's not going to be able to withstand the test of a UIL or the legitimacy of longevity of a program.
Right. Or having the student building musicians and having students be able to do something once they leave your classroom. Going out into the world.
Right.
You do a disservice to the students.
Yes.
When you don't teach them what they need to know.
And that's why that mentorship from those that have come before us helps us, because it helps us slow down the passion and the creative things that we have in our brain to say, man, well, if we now we're in the digital age, so now they can go home and practice. And some of that is true. I can attest, like once we hit COVID, we had to tap into video recording for practicing.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got back, I knew that I couldn't depend on that. I still had to say, you're going to practice these things. We still have these playoffs. I'm not leaving you up to record a video to submit for something that we got to do in real time. And so I'm only able to do that to understand, like, context matters and nuance matters. And so, yeah, you walk into that young choir director, there are things that in your era, in your heyday, that wasn't the thing. Hey, use it properly, but don't let it abuse the process that all of us are going to build choirs and bands and jazz groups and orchestras. Like, it, at the end of the day, there has to be literacy, and that literacy has to be built on discipline and skill. You can't there's no way around that.
Exactly. We're training musicians. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they may not go out and be, music educators, but as long as when they come through your classroom, you need to give them what they need.
So that's, I've kind of relished in that a little bit was it last week that I was walking back from the Spirit of Houston marching band rehearsal and didn't know that 3 of my former students were in the ensemble. And so that caught me off guard. But then even walking back to my car at the garage in the evening, I ran into my former Heights High School trumpet student. Like, she's just a junior mechanical engineering major there. And just saying, she's like, and she thought I was gonna get upset because she wasn't a senior when I left to Prairie View. She's like, I didn't finish in band, Mr. Jimenez. And I was like, hey, that's all right. And she goes, but I haven't forgotten the things that your sayings and the things that you taught me, and I hear those things and I'm like, you don't even realize the impact you're making, right? And it's because I've keep stressing this. Am I a fan of certain things that have been digitized and make things faster? Yes. I'm not going to say I'm not, right? Like, everyone is. We've all benefited from that. But we're still in an art form that takes time.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that we should enjoy that process. Like, this is going to take a while, but it's going to be worth it. Right? Like, you're going to hit that region music and you see all those black notes on it. It's like, where do I start? Right? And it's like, yeah, it's a big task. It's a big mountain, but take that first step. And then when you get onto the top of it, you and I will celebrate, right? Like those little analogies, those moments of triumph, of seeing a kid saying from beginning band, from beginning chorus, from beginning orchestra, general music, and it's like they couldn't even hold a pitch, right? And now you're up here as one of my top students. Those are the moments that I know for teachers, it makes it all worth it. It's like all the other stuff that's hitting us every which way. You know, you didn't submit your attendance. You haven't responded to this email, but it's like that kid got it, and the light bulb came on, and it's like
so
that's
gratifying.
Exactly.
So gratifying as a teacher. Absolutely.
Definitely.
So Justin, I would love for you to give us some final thoughts.
Man, listen, I want to say this, and I want to say this with all clarity, because even though I may not be in the classroom every day, but still get an opportunity through me and Eric's partnership to go in and clinic and help young directors and all of that, what you learn from people that have come before you is very vital. I would argue and say it's probably more important than what you would read in a book. Because whatever I learned from Dr. Taylor, or Dr. Cornelius, or Dr. Selden, Craig Green, and others along the way helped me go back to that textbook and now contextualize that information. Because I have authentic experience along with this written knowledge. But we have to understand ultimately that the richness of the past really helps to direct our future. And if you forget that, then you're going to hit a dead end, and you ultimately are going to spin your wheels trying to build art programs in a microwave world, when at the end of the day, those kind of stark foundational things, there's a reason why if I talk to Eric now and we find a band director that was hitting it in the 90s, there's some consistency through what we're doing. We may be playing different music. We may, they may have, they have music in folders. They got music on iPads now. Like, those things may be different, but the way we're going to get at that piece of music is going to be the same. So I would say it's not the technology, it's the people and the minds that have come way before. And so I'm just appreciative of a Dr. Taylor. You don't get a Justin McLean, you don't get a score, you don't get all of the things that I've done without me crossing paths and having my coattails pulled by Dr. Taylor. And so this is the reason she's here, the reason we wanted her on, was to really prove the truth that, man, mentorship, those that have done it at a high level, you're going to need them long before that textbook is ever going to bring you any joy.
Let me reiterate that as well. Ditto.
Yes.
I would not be here if it wasn't for her, but then I can also think about she easily could have said, all right, Eric, I guess you're taking that year off. We'll see you next year. Right. Because I guess nobody would have known if she had helped me or not helped me. Right. And that I think probably happens more than what she took an approach. It was, you know what? This is not my job. This is not something I have to do, but it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And there have been countless moments that happened to me in my career with other students at the secondary, even at the collegiate level, that I sat there and it's like, I got 110 things that I need to do, but this is important and I need to put this on a priority list and I'm going to figure out a way. And even if I don't get you the answer, I'm going to find you the answer. Like we're going to make this work. And I can think of students now trying to send me the same message, right? You got Chuy now I don't know if you know this, Dr. Taylor, but Chuy is the director of bands at Navarro Middle School now in Houston ISD. And Chris Quiros is now the assistant band director at Eisenhower High School under Timothy Richardson.
Oh, wow.
So I know they were probably in their first or second year when you retired and that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but you met Chris Quiros when I took him up there to go and do that guest lecture. And then I remember I taught him, I was like, you will shake her hand. Anybody who comes up to you and you look them in the eye and you say your full name. And I remember when he did that, Dr. Taylor looked at me, she's like, okay, Eric, all right. In those moments, I think about giving her justice, right? Like, I want to prove to you that what you did for me that you didn't have to do is not going unjust. Like, here it is. Right. Here's the example. I'm pouring into others to be able to pay it forward. And so I want to say personally thank you because of you. I am who I am, and I got the opportunity to be in front of so many students and now continue the progress we're doing. So we're living your legacy is what we want to say.
Ma'am.
Oh, wow.
Yes, ma'am.
I am just so proud. Thank you so much. And I'll just say that I mentioned Clydo and Jackson. He told me when I saw him later in his life and as I got older, I said to him, Mr. Jackson, I just really want to thank you for all the things that you did in my life and who you are. And he said, don't worry about it, daughter. Just pass it along. And I've never forgotten that. Never forgotten that. Yeah, never forget the experiences and the people who have been placed in your life because no one has pulled himself up by their own bootstraps. Someone has helped you get to where you are. And so I've never forgotten that.
Dr. Taylor, people are going to want to get in touch with you. What's the best way they can reach out?
Taylor, ajan6@gmail.com.
Well,
and then they can reach you. Yeah.
And if you reach us, we'll connect you.
Yeah, and on Facebook, Jan Taylor.
Okay,
folks. As we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, we always mention her, and it's because of these stories, these organic stories, these real stories that happen to Justin and I that are happening to other students still in real time, that make the difference. Yeah. And I would encourage everyone to share those stories. It's these moments that motivate me to become better, to become a better husband, a better father, but ultimately a better person, as we said. And then the pedagogy comes with it. It's just if you're good people, you just tend to serve people in a different way. So, Dr. Taylor, thank you so much for joining us today. And I know this won't be the last one. And we look forward to continued relationships and partnerships. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This has been another production of The Score. Connect with us on social media at Pod The Score. Send us an email, podthescore@gmail.com, or visit our website, revivalmusicproject.org. If you've enjoyed this episode, do us a huge favor. Rate and review us. This will help us reach even more listeners. Intro music by Justin McLean. The rotation and outro music by Ben Borges. And as always, let's continue to impact these lives through the vehicle of music.